Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle today. Today we're having another conscious convo. And today I'll be having a guest that will be joining us shortly here. But in the meantime, I wanted to say hello to everyone. My name is Letty, Blood Moon Oracle here. And this will be our second live discussion around Conscious Convo, where we'll be taking a look at Reiki specifically today. My guest will be here shortly. I can't wait to introduce her. But in the meantime, welcome you all who would come in and have discussion with me or just listen. And so today, of course, we are talking about Reiki. We're talking about Reiki. But before we do that, what I wanted to do it's just go, as I was sitting this morning, Spirit was always talking to me as I'm preparing for something. And Spirit was talking to me this morning about standing. And standing in integrity, standing in truth, standing in your authenticity and your heart space, like whatever that is that we're called to do, and to stand in that no matter what. And as I was receiving this message, there was a quote that came up from Theodore Roosevelt. And that quote talks about not giving in to the challenge or the defeat, right? And so, hi, let me see. I think my guest is coming in. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, Cristi. How are you this morning? It's a little wet outside where we are, but it's warm inside. So I hope you're well. I hope your weekend has been restful. Did you get on okay? Were you able to share it on your platforms?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that, so we won't worry about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I directed them towards you. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. If you're interested, usually there's like several options at the bottom of your screen. One is invite. Do you see that? If you click that, it'll give you an opportunity to open it up on other platforms, I believe.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I don't think I have those connected on my laptop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, you should also have, I believe you'll be able to share it, but if not, I can also send it to you if you want to do that, or you can just download it straight from YouTube as well, however you want to do that, okay? All right, so welcome to our guest. I guess we'll just go ahead and get started for the sake of time. I know you're busy as well, but welcome to our guest, Miss Cristi, and holistic psychotherapist and energy healer from the Blooming Soul, who also happens to be a Reiki master and also my Reiki teacher. And so I've been studying under Miss Cristi, and it has been an honor. It's been a privilege. It's been very interesting. I met Miss Cristi at a social event that we both attended. And immediately when I saw her, there was something that radiated and attracted me to Cristi. And as I began speaking with her, I felt a pull, like a spiritual connection with her. And I don't know if some of you all may resonate how sometimes you feel like you know someone before you actually know them. That's the feeling I got when I first saw Cristi. And as I began to have discussion with her during this event, and we began to share a little bit about ourselves, and she let me know what she did. And the moment the word Reiki came out, when she told me she was a Reiki teacher, I was like, okay, that's what it is. I have a strong inclination like that. We are all connected in some type of way. And it's always amazing to me how the universe connects our paths, to people that we need. It's not always for a lifetime, but sometimes it's for a season. Sometimes it is for a lifetime, but it's always purposeful. And so, I met Cristi, we connected immediately, and here we are. And so, again, as I stated, she's my teacher, and I've enjoyed learning under her. And so, the reason why we're here today is we're talking about Reiki. She's a Reiki master. And so I asked her to see if she would be willing to come and have open discussion with us. And she so kindly obliged. And so thank you so much, Cristi, for being here today. And I do believe that there's going to be people who will benefit from this discussion like this. One of the things that I wish I had when I started my path on spirituality was open discussions and people that I could sit down and have like open, honest discussions about. And so you're my second guest. I felt a calling to do these lives just for people that may be, wondering, and have questions possibly about Reiki. And so as I mentioned in my first interview, I felt called to have these open and transparent discussions that we're going to be having today. And I definitely feel like with the turn of events that are happening right now, and as we move into like this more awakened state of being and consciousness, like collectively, I feel like having open discussions is what I'm called to do. And so thank you, Cristi, for being here today. I don't know if you want to just give like a brief introduction, share whatever it is that you'd like to share about yourself. I'll just open it up to you. But thank you for being here today.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm so honored that, you asked me to come in and join the discussion. And just to go along with what you said, when we met at that event, I also felt that pull. In fact, I was sitting at another table and my attention kept just kind of being drawn over to you. So I was like, I'm going to go over there and sit there. Yeah. So I'm Cristi Taylor, and I have a business, The Blooming Soul, where I do holistic psychotherapy and also energy work, Reiki energy work. I'm a priestess, a psychotherapist, and a Reiki master teacher. And so I'm excited for our discussion. I definitely love what you said about, having these lives and opening up these discussions, because I think when I first woke up, there wasn't, I kind of felt like I was on my own. And so these can be, really helpful to, yeah.
I agree. Well, thank you so much. And as I stated, we're talking about Reiki today. And I've heard quite a bit about Reiki even before I had the opportunity to start classes with you, Cristi. And I actually started to dabble in it just a little bit before I actually found someone that I felt called to learn under. And it was described to me, just a general, for those that may not know what Reiki is, it was described to me as like this universal life force, or this energy that, from the creator, that kind of connects us all. And culturally, we can see it named as different things. I know in Japan, it's the ki, or the Ki, CHI, or KI, like in Reiki. In the East, it might be the CHI, or Hinduism, they call it like the prana. There's Hawaiian practitioners that might call it like mana. There's so many different names, but as we jump from cultures, we all have a different name for it. And this energy is really referring to like everything in creation. It's not personal, but it's like a universal energy. And the beautiful thing about it that I've learned and studying under Cristi is that we get to tap into that energy. So it's not like we're exhausting our own energy. We're tapping into the universal life force energy, right? And so that's what we're talking about today, this energy that we have at our disposal called Reiki. And so if we can just jump right in, I guess I'll start with asking my first question to you, Cristi, which would be, if you can describe to us in your terms what Reiki is, how you see it, how you interpret it, and then how you came to be a Reiki master or practitioner. Because we are in the West. Of course, this is not a Western practice. It's something that comes from other places in the world. So how did you come to become a Reiki master?
Perfect. Yeah, I think you described, what Reiki is very well. And I would agree with everything you said there. And I, just in simple terms, I kind of see it just as directing energy, that universal life force energy for the purpose of healing.
Okay.
And yeah, I first got exposed to Reiki many, many years ago, but by somebody who was taking a training and needed somebody to practice on. Okay. And so, they asked if they could practice on me. And I really enjoyed it, but I didn't really, think too much more about it. Okay. And then later, I started researching after I had a Kundalini awakening about 15, 16 years ago. I started researching because I didn't really know what was happening, okay. And my therapist at the time would do Reiki on me a little bit, but I think I was, I was so stressed out, I guess, at the time, but so I didn't really think a lot about it, but I knew it helped me relax, okay. And I really needed that at the time. Okay. And then later when I decided to, going through my own healing journey and having my own therapist who did this Reiki, who taught me breath work and some of these things. From that process being so helpful for me, I decided I wanted to be a family and marriage counselor. And so I started my training for that. And then when I was almost done with that training, then I decided to get trained in Reiki. Okay. And I was at the university or the California Institute for Integral Studies in San Francisco. And there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different professors there that have different cultural backgrounds. And in most of the classes, the professors would bring in a little bit of their spiritual practice. Okay. And so there wasn't specifically somebody who was performing Reiki there, but it kind of reignited my curiosity, about energy and about different ways to work with it. And then I started researching and was just kind of led to my teacher. Okay. Yeah. And she is of Hawaiian background. Okay. And yeah, and that's one of the ways that that Reiki, Yusui Reiki, came to the West from
Mm.
Japan over to Hawaii. And
Okay.
then in Hawaii, there was like 10 or so people trained, and then
Mhm.
brought it to the West in a expedited way after that.
Okay. Okay. Um, and so you trained under a Hawaiian at first. It was someone who was Hawaiian. So they referred to it as prana.
They teach, it's a local teacher here. They teach in the tradition, in the traditional Yasui way. So using Japanese words in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the traditional Japanese symbols as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Nice. Nice. Um, I'm always drawn to when people talk about your initial awakening. Did you say what do they call it? The dark night of the soul?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like for you?
Oh my goodness. Very intense.
Was it?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very, it was a major, I would say, rerouting
Okay.
from the
Mhm,
universe where
mhm.
and that's what precipitated the Kundalini awakening. You
Okay.
know, I had a situation where my marriage broke up. We lost our home. I
Mm,
lost my job. And, it was at a point where I could barely take care
yeah,
of myself or my children.
yeah.
Um, and, you know, that was that was the rerouting to really
Mhm.
begin the process of being able to go within myself
Yes.
and um, but rebuild and look at some of these things that I really hadn't given much thought to before
Mhm.
that. I was kind of, on automatic as we are
Yeah,
often before an awakening,
yes. Okay. That
Yeah.
is so beautiful. I feel like because I have a similar experience too, where I had this tower moment. I'm gonna call it a tower moment, kind of like you described, but I think the beautiful thing is realizing that subtle shift, unless we're open to it, right? To being
Mhm.
broken in that moment, we don't realize that subtle shift that's taking us from autopilot to this new experience. And so, as painful as that was, and I know when you're saying what it is and how everything is, just breaking down, that redirection is so beautiful. And it provides so much peace when you're open to it. And so I definitely understand what that was like. I always want to ask that question because my experience was similar. Um, it was almost like that. Not exactly the same examples, but I did feel like many parts of my life was kind of breaking down and forcing me to look at things differently.
Mhm.
And when we're willing to do that and let go of the old way, like it's almost undescribable. It's amazing. And so I'm glad I gave into the redirection as well. And so moving on here, thank you for sharing that, Cristi. For some people who may be unfamiliar but interested in Reiki, whether it's a session that they'll receive in person or long distance, maybe they'll see someone doing Reiki over the internet, wondering what it is. Are there prerequisites for someone to receive Reiki, or can anyone receive Reiki?
Good question. Yeah, there's no prerequisites. Anybody can receive Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you just want to make sure that you check in with your own intuition and make sure that you're getting a good feeling from this person, before you schedule with them.
Okay.
And you just want to be open, and go in with maybe from a place of curiosity, and as to what can happen, and not expect to, all your healing is going to be done in one session, but
Okay.
just be curious and notice whatever you notice, because everybody needs different things at different times, and everybody experiences the energy differently within their body.
Okay. Okay. So no prerequisites necessary. You just basically need to be open and kind of release the expectation of the outcome. Just be open
Yeah,
to receive. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Let me see. And can we compare it or say that it's similar to like going to get a massage or no?
I've often said it's almost like getting an energetic massage.
Okay.
Because as the Reiki energy is naturally going to go wherever it kind of needs to,
Mm-hmm.
and often that can be to like that knot in your shoulder, and it will work on a energetic level to bring healing to that area, to move energy through. um, and there is often like a kind of a release, like you would get when that get when you go in for a massage,
Mm-hmm.
just in a little bit different way.
Okay. So you can use it for anything, like a sprained muscle, for cramps, a
Hmm.
headache, like anything to do with the body. Reiki can be used for that.
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. It can help with all sorts of different things, physical things, and it's a really good complementary modality to go along with, yeah, you might be going into your doctor to have them help with whatever physically is going on.
Okay.
And Reiki works really well to complement whatever else you're already doing.
Okay.
And it might, it just depends on where you're at and what's needed. But often there is, that pain might not be fully gone. It may just have released a little bit, or maybe it entirely releases during the session. It just kind of depends.
Okay. Okay. And it's not necessarily physical. I mean, it can be, right? But it's not necessarily physical. Would we consider it to be like an intimate practice?
Yeah, good
And why?
question. Yeah, I mean, it also works on, an emotional level, a
Mm,
spiritual level as well. Um, and I would say it is an intimate practice, because, you're working, whether it's in person session, or you can also do it online, distance wise. It still works the same way, um, but it is something that's intimate because this um, you're working with a practitioner, and they are tapping into your energy field and
okay.
directing energy towards wherever needs healing. And so it can be very intimate. A lot of times emotions might move through during the session. Um, and so sometimes, you might cry, or some
Mm,
grief or anger may move through. some anxiety, those sort of things. Um, as the energy flow is opened up. And, so that's where, again, you want to just vet the person that you are scheduling a session with. And just, making sure that you get a good feeling from them, and that it's somebody, that you would want to try it out with if it's your first session,
Yes. Okay. Well, you said a lot about energy in that answer. I think one of the things that depending on where you are and how you see reality, a lot of people may not understand that energy is a real thing. It's just as real as something that you can hold. And there's a way that we can deal with energy, just like we can deal with like a chair, something that you can hold. We can deal with energy too and manipulate energy. And so I guess it would depend on like the mindset of the person. Because if you're not even open to understand like simple things like that, like the fact that we can manipulate energy and we all have this energy field around us, it might be hard to understand how Reiki could be even important.
Yeah. That's a good point. And, often, if I'm working with somebody where it's their first experience, and, I love doing those types of sessions for people. Often people have heard of it, they're curious, and they want to try it out, I let them know, like the most common thing that people feel from sessions is relaxation.
Okay.
And then take them through some breath work and maybe a little bit of a body scan, just to help them relax, each part of their body. And check in to see what they're experiencing.
Okay.
And kind of take, I think, knowing that most people feel relaxation and anything else is a bonus, kind of takes pressure off of people. Like sometimes people might feel like, oh, I'm not doing this right, or I didn't have this big transcendental moment, and so it's not working.
Yes.
But if you can be in a place where your mind is able to relax, which sometimes doesn't happen until a little bit into the session, where your body can relax, healing naturally starts to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, you naturally start to release some of the tension, some of the pressure from thoughts in your head and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. I think, as I stated in the beginning, we could be in a time where things are really transitioning medically. I know Reiki is not the first choice that a doctor will prescribe or will recommend. Do you think that we're possibly in a time, or Reiki could possibly be like innovative in this moment? And I did read a little bit that there's a few doctors that may prescribe some Reiki, but it hasn't become wholly accepted yet. Do you think like we're on the precipice of this change overall as a society and Western culture?
I think so. Definitely. I know when I first started practicing Reiki, and not that many people had heard of it, or it might be like, oh, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it's about. And now most of the time people have heard of it, or they've heard of energy work, And there are some different programs where they will allow, where they have Reiki practitioners come in, like during a surgery,
Mhm.
and perform Reiki
Okay.
as a as an additional modality while they're doing that to help the person relax and with healing. And I think, doctors are more apt to ask somebody if they're doing yoga or qigong or qigong, and some of these other, or tai chi, some of these other ways of moving energy
Okay.
or releasing tension.
Got you. Do you think it could be like a slippery slope? Because I know I'm someone who I have the mindset that I want to, like, I'm vegan. It's just a word of wanting to be more healthy, right? We have all these different options. And so when we talk about medicine, we talk about ways that we can choose the very best thing for our body. And so I'm conscious of that. And so when I have a pain, which I do have pains, ibuprofen usually comes to mind. But then there's also the awareness too, well, I could also choose other options as well. So as the Reiki practitioner, that slippery slope, are you careful when it comes to when people come to you with ailments and they're looking for help? Would you suggest that they not go to the doctor and, just do some Reiki? What would be your, because I'm studying under you, so hopefully I will be able to work with people too. So this is like
Yeah.
a legitimate question.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I would not recommend, I wouldn't tell them like, don't go to a doctor,
Okay.
depending on what it is. But I may, and at the same time, I would provide like some additional maybe suggestions
Okay.
to go along with, like if they had the pain in their neck, maybe
Mhm.
some, relaxation techniques and breathing techniques they could take home
Okay.
to do. Maybe suggesting, some different exercises, whether, yoga or qigong, something like that, that can help release that tension.
Okay.
Maybe a little meditation to see, sometimes like within the session, we might get a little idea of what they might be carrying, in that shoulder that's burdening them, so maybe they can work with it, rewiring some beliefs and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. I like what you said. And so not necessarily thinking of it as replacing what's already in place medically, but just kind of adding on to it, or even looking at it in terms of being more preventative when it comes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed like the clients that I have that come in, let's say once a month, who let's say in the past they would come in after something would happen to be
Okay.
able to like calm down from whatever that situation is, and then kind of changed where, okay, now they're coming in once, maybe twice a month, and really, saying, okay, overall, I'm more relaxed. I'm not having to come in all worked up and feel like I need this Reiki to calm me down. I overall feel like things are flowing better. I feel more calm. I'm not noticing some of those pains in my body, things like that. So it can, work preventatively as well.
Okay.
But there are times where, maybe we need to take that aspirin,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
then maybe sometimes we try, like you said, like we might try, oh, well, let me, if you're trained in Reiki, let me do a little self Reiki here
Mhm.
and see if that shifts things,
Okay.
or you do
Got
both,
Yeah. Do both. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also said about being able to feel into the person that you're serving, um, and being able to um, intuit what's happening in the other person. So it's not just about a passing of energy, that's part of it, but there's also an awareness, like an intuitive process that's happening
Hmm.
during the Reiki. Has that been something that you've had, before you started practicing Reiki, or is that something that you just started with Reiki?
I think I had it before Reiki, but it was more in, I don't know if I want to say negative, but it was more in where I was like sensitive to energies, but I was absorbing,
Mhm.
kind of empathing
Yeah,
and
I love
taking
that.
on other people's negative energy or stress
Hmm.
or things like that. Um, and I think Reiki has taught me to be more aware of that
Okay.
and to do it like an informed empath.
Okay.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's quite how I want to say it, but to be able to use those empathic, intuitive abilities in a mindful way.
Okay.
you
Got you.
know, and it's
Yeah.
always kind of uh, checking in with the client to see what they're noticing and kind of I always do it where I take their lead
Hmm.
and we check in. um, Sometimes something will come to me intuitively and I may or may not share it. It kind of depends on what it is. Sometimes I'll ask them beforehand, if they would like that, if something does come up, if they want me to share it with
Okay.
them. Um, but in the Reiki training over the years, I've gotten a lot more sensitive to feeling different things
Okay.
um, in my body based
Hmm.
on what they're experiencing. So if somebody's coming in with that shoulder pain or, um, you know, indigestion in the stomach, then I
Hmm.
experience that in my body.
Okay.
Not to the point where it hurts me or anything, but enough where it just lets me know, ooh, this might be what's going on with them. And then I
Okay.
check in with them.
Okay. One of the clairs. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay. So I guess I have to not just glamorize Reiki, but just really be honest. There are some concerns. I've heard some rumors about Reiki when I first entered in, because you want to do your due diligence and really take a look at all angles of what it is that you feel like you're being called to. So some of the rumors that I heard early on with Reiki were that there's like some dangers around doing Reiki as it pertains to the spiritual health or the energetic health. What do you think about that? Are there anything that we need to be aware of or anything that should be heeded? I know you did also say just be really aware of the feeling you're getting with the
Mhm.
person that you would receive services from, but is there any other dangers that you see present?
Yeah, yeah, good question. The great thing about Reiki is it can do no harm,
Okay.
just in that universal life energy, directing it towards healing for the person. Reiki itself can do no harm.
Okay.
And, ultimately, the amount of, the person that's receiving it
Mhm.
ultimately is in charge of how much is, allowing into their body and
Okay.
that sort of thing. So it's not going to be too much for the person, if that makes sense.
Okay.
However, yeah, I would just reiterate that, just making sure that you trust that person that you're scheduling with.
Okay.
Because if that, you want to just make sure that you want them working on your energy field.
Gotcha.
It is a common question, though, and it's really interesting. It's like often, sometimes with clients that I've worked with, like on a longer term basis, it's almost like that programming, that Reiki, or it could be a different modality, right? Kind of fill in the blank, is of the devil, or negative or nefarious,
Witchcraft.
witchcraft, right? Things
Mhm.
like that. It's often, I've worked with several clients over the years where it's that belief itself that is getting reprogrammed during the at some point in the process.
Okay.
And so sometimes when that happens, it can flush up some of those negative beliefs, some of that programming, and the person might question, like, okay, if that, that's flushing up, they might question if it's due to the Reiki, or if they're having a difficult, sometimes as the things are healing and the energy's moving through, you can have a little bit of a healing crisis, where maybe you get a little bit of a cold, or that area is really tender for a little while as things are reorganizing.
Okay.
And so sometimes as those negative beliefs and flush up, people can sometimes think that Reiki itself is negative, and it's just about like making that person feel safe and just listening to their concerns, and just helping them through that process without judging them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does. That
Yeah.
does. And with saying that, so Reiki, what you're saying is Reiki is going to open up what's already there. It's not putting anything in you. It may in fact open up and reveal maybe what needs to be healed.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Definitely. It can kind of get us to, shadow places, or yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So for someone that said that they had a Reiki, practice or a Reiki session, and all of these things started to happen, and it was like, this was something that probably was stemming from something inside of them, maybe the shadow aspect of who they are. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's interesting. It's drawing me back to a question that I had by my first guest. And we were just basically talking about spirituality. And I asked him a question about spiritual hygiene and if it was necessary. And one of the things that I have come to understand is that I do think it's necessary, but more than that, I think I've learned, I'll rather say, that everything that we are, right, is what it, sometimes we look outside of ourselves, and when we look at each other, we're just really seeing reflections of ourselves. It's like a mirror coming back at us. And so everything is just basically being reiterated from what's within. It's almost like a reflection that we're seeing when we look at each other. And I guess I can kind of relate that to Reiki as well. And with this question, is there anything to fear? Not necessarily, unless you're hiding something, or unless you're afraid to face something internally, maybe. And so I guess that would be the answer to that question then, is that just be open to what comes up. Maybe there's not really anything to fear. It's not about witchcraft or it being of the devil, because people go get massages all the time as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we can pretty much stem, as something similar. But it just depends on what it is that you're expecting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I think bringing up like the energetic hygiene is, that is important as well, because the more you're tuned into how you feel before and after situations,
Mm-hmm.
and you clear your energy, the more you can catch things as well.
Okay.
If you did have some type of negative experience or felt like you took on some energy or something like that.
Okay. And it all just goes back to what you said. It's all about releasing the outcome and just being open to discovery. And okay. My last question would be, thank you so much for being open to discuss these topics. I know you've been teaching for a while. I know there's like a lot of experience that you have, been able to put under your belt. And I know you do things above and beyond Reiki. You're a holistic psychotherapist and energy healer. I think you did tell me that you do some hypnotizing work as well, which goes a little bit deeper into the psyche. And so when it comes to healing, like, is there anything else that you would want people to know in this day and time? Well, I just leave that open. It's like an open question for you.
Yeah. I think really just keep going.
Okay.
Just after you start that process of awakening, of healing yourself, so much opens up, and the positive, really great feeling, feeling expansive and like everything's possible. And then on the other side of it are those moments of contraction and limitation and experiencing what you really would prefer not to.
Okay.
And it's like those moments kind of squeeze out and help you, working through those moments then can shift you over to having that expansion again, but it's, I know when I first started like the process of healing and exploring all this, I always, would think, okay, I've made it. I'm here. I'm good to go. Right. And it's like, I don't think we ever get that actual moment is what I'm realizing. We want to, take some time to enjoy that, take some time to appreciate ourselves, to be proud of ourselves, and then in those other moments of the contraction, or when we're, something we thought, oh, we've worked through this, kind of spirals back around to really, do whatever you do that helps you have that love and compassion for yourself, that helps you bring mindfulness to that, to be able to be there with yourself, comfort yourself, let go of shame, about whatever it is, so that you can not disassociate, not take off somewhere else, but you can be there with those difficult times with yourself.
Okay. So keep going. I receive that. Yeah. What stood out to me with what you just said was acknowledging all parts of ourselves and not feeling like we have to hide, the parts that are not lovely,
Mm-hmm.
being able to be there and not checking out when that side of ourselves shows up. Um, what we would call the shadow side, being able to deal with our shadow side just as lovely as we deal with the light side of who we are. But just keep going, keep working on yourself. I don't believe that we ever arrive at the perfect healed state either. I think it's going to be a continuous journey towards healing, all the way to the end. I often hear the term the earth school. I like that term because it lets me know that, first of all, we're here for a purpose. We're here to learn and to experience. That's the reason why we're here. And it takes away from the need to feel like you have to show up perfectly. The earth school, we're here to learn, right? That's part of the process. And there's going to be something possibly new every day that we're learning. And so, yeah, so keep going. I received that. Thank you.
I love that, the earth school.
Yes. So I have one last question for you. In your experience, what has been what you do, your calling here? We're talking about Reiki. We're talking about psychotherapy. We're talking about healing work. We're talking about the great awakening that we've been called to be and to do and to live and to be a part of. Like, what has been most fulfilling or challenging for you this far?
Mm. Most fulfilling, well, I guess challenging, one thing challenging for me is, like, I love to learn. I love to study all of this.
Okay.
And yet I can get caught in that at times and, like, really, go so far into that where it's like, actually, I need to experience life as well. And remember, those, like, when I'm truly doing that, like, those simple moments, those simple messages that come in are really when I'm aligned, when I'm taking a walk.
Yeah.
When I'm listening, out in nature is a huge part of what, really makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
And just the simple act of sitting on a bench and feeling the sunshine,
Yeah. Okay. So just
remembering to balance,
Yeah. Okay. So
balance
balance.
things, do all of that and balance it with that simple daily activities that bring me little moments of joy and happiness.
Okay.
And help me reconnect with myself.
Got you. Okay. So it sounds like you enjoy just being in the moment and simplicity. Like, you get most fulfilling. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And being gentle with myself when I forget that.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Cristi. I appreciate you so much. And I am super excited as I wrap up our little discussion. I know you probably have things you want to get done today, but I appreciate you making space in your day to come and have this discussion with me. You didn't have to, but you did, and you opened up your schedule to do it. So I appreciate you. I'm excited for my next class with you. Again, it's been such a wonderful experience exploring and learning under you the concepts around Reiki, and you taking me under your belt and guiding me. I appreciate you so very much, Cristi. And I just have to say that you have such a peaceful, a very calming energy that really is welcoming. Like never once have I felt out of place in your presence, in your energy, in your class. And it's very encouraging, and you've been very patient and professional. Yes. And so I really enjoyed your classes. And I would definitely recommend them to anyone who may be watching, who's thinking about taking Reiki classes. Maybe you're interested. I definitely, hands down, recommend Cristi Taylor. Is there any other services or products that I can share here on the platform for someone watching that may be interested?
Yeah, so people can connect with me at the Blooming Soul 916. That is my website, and then also my Instagram and my Facebook.
Blooming Soul 916. Okay. And that's on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube too?
Not YouTube. That'll be starting here hopefully in the next couple months.
Okay. So Facebook, Instagram, and what was the other one?
And then my website is the Blooming Soul 916, I believe it is on there as well.
Okay. Blooming Soul 916 on Facebook, on Instagram, and then the website, let me see, is thebloomingsoul.com.
Yep.
Okay. And if we wanted to donate, is there a place where we can go to do that?
Oh, I would have to set that up, I think. I've got a Venmo under I think it's under the Blooming Soul 916. But people could reach out on my website. I do have a class starting tomorrow. It's called Opening to Love, and it is a 6-week journey to grow your self-love and compassion. And so that includes some Reiki, some expressive arts. You can do it either just the class itself or with a class kit. So I'm excited to offer that. And then I teach different classes locally beyond, the healing or the Reiki certification as well. And
so the classes, they can find that on the bloomingsoul.com?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So there's a class starting tomorrow. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I think that was it. Thank you so much. As I was sitting, before you came on, I was about to go into like a little devotional, but I think I'll leave it with the devotional. But as I was sitting this morning preparing, Spirit was talking to me about being encouraged. And it kind of falls in line with your encouragement to keep going. And what came to my mind, I remember hearing somewhere, I can't remember where, I think I heard it from, I can't remember her name, but she was talking about being encouraged, not getting discouraged and falling into this energy of feeling sorry for yourself or just quitting when things get hard or being discouraged by being not feeling like you're supported, and staying in the game. And one of the quotes I remember listening to her was from Theodore Roosevelt. And it says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or whether the doer of deeds could have done them better. But the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs. because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. That came to me this morning. It's the people who are in the ring, who are in the arena, who are actually stepping out to do something, to make change, to offer themselves up in some type of way, to make things better for humanity. It's the person who does that. And it's not necessarily about walking this perfect straight line, but it's about being willing to put yourself out there and do that. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so as I was sitting this morning preparing, Spirit brought that up for me. And I just offer that for whoever needs it, for whoever will watch that. I offer that to you and say thank you. Thank you for putting yourself out there, for being a conduit, for healing, and, for just doing the thing. Because it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of courage, that moment that you decide to go 180 degrees from where you are when you had that Kundalini awakening, and you said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. We're just going to go and see what happens. Thank you. Because had you not did that, Cristi, I wouldn't be here on my journey, being able to move forward in what I feel like I'm led to do. And so I say thank you so very much. I'm going to head over to your website. I'm going to send over a donation for your time this morning. And that's all I have. I just want to say thank you. And I look forward to our next class. Okay.
Thank you so much. I feel really honored to have asked me and to have had this discussion with you this morning.
You are so welcome. Well, enjoy your day, and I will talk to you soon. And namaste.
All right. Bye.
Bye.